Okay, today we're going to talk about the limit definition, or the formal definition, of a derivative. And we talked a little bit about this in class already, but let's say we have a curve. And we draw a secant line through there. This is at x. We'll say this point is at x plus a delta x, a change of x. Just like if it was like 4 to 7, it'd be delta x would be 3. So this is going to be f of x. This is going to be f of x plus delta x. The idea is that for the derivative, it comes from what we call the tangent problem. And what we do is we take that delta x and we make it smaller and smaller and smaller. We're still going through f of x, but now the distance between our x and delta x is going to be a whole lot smaller until eventually we turn the secant, which was right here, into a tangent. So what we're going to do is we're going to decrease delta x and let it approach 0. Because if it does approach 0, then it's going to approach x. Well, thankfully, we have a process that lets us do this. And the one thing that we can calculate when we have 2 points on any line is a slope. So that's what we're going to end up doing. We're going to take our limit as delta x approaches 0 of y2, which is f of x plus delta x, minus y1, which is f of x, all over x2, which is x plus delta x, minus x1, which is x, which is equal to the limit as delta x approaches 0, f of x plus delta x minus f of x all over delta x. And it all comes back, let's zoom it out just a little bit here. It all comes back from this idea that we're going to take this secant and we're going to make the secant the distance from this x value to this x value. We're going to make it 0. And we're eventually going to get there, and we're going to get our tangent line when our original function was right here. Now, it looks scary, but it really isn't too bad. And to show you how it isn't really too bad, let's take, for example, the function f of x is equal to, let's say, 2x squared plus 3x minus 1. The first thing you always want to do, and we're going to break this down into 5 steps, 4 or 5 steps, depending on how you feel. First thing we're going to do is we need to get that delta x, or the f of x is delta x. So we're going to go f of x plus delta x, which means replace all x's with x plus delta x. So this is going to become 2 times x plus delta x, quantity squared, plus 3 times x plus delta x minus 1. Now we need to expand this. 2 times x squared plus 2x delta x plus x squared. This is where knowing how to do a perfect square binomial is really good. Distribute here, we get plus 3x plus 3 delta x minus 1. Distribute again, 2x squared plus 4x delta x plus 2 delta x squared plus 3x plus 3 delta x minus 1. And so that's f of x plus delta x. That is the most complex part of this whole problem. The second part, we want to take f of x plus delta x, subtract off f of x. So now we're working on the numerator. We're going to build up the numerator. Well, I'm going to do this vertically, 2x plus 4x